Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we are diving deep into Databricks Cluster, what they are, how to configure them effectively, and how to optimize the cost. Whether you are a data engineer, scientist, or analyst, this this one for you. So if you wanted to reduce your Databricks cluster cost, then you are on the right place. So let's go and deep dive. So the question is, what is a cluster? Think of a cluster as the engine behind of the Databricks, which handles everything from interactive analysis to schedule a job. Okay, so there are multiple executors which combine with the drivers, and then it works as a cluster where you can configure on which Databricks run notebook, job, or SQL commands you wanted to run. That all will be held up with the Databricks cluster. All right. Now we are going to talk about the types of the cluster. So there are multiple types of cluster which consist standard type of cluster, high concurrency cluster, and job clusters. So choosing the right type matters because a standard for dev work, high concurrency for shared SQL workloads, and job cluster for cost efficient automation. So if you see here, this all detail you will see the purpose, use cases, characteristics, right? So a standards general purpose because this is dedicated to one user or job, multiple user interact with the high concurrency, which is shared access, secure session because it is isolated, right? And the job cluster is designed for the job, ETL job. So if you see here, job trigger, whatever the job you are going to trigger, at the same time a job cluster will be created and start. So it is mentioned here that it spins up on job trigger, auto terminates. So as soon as job gets finished, the cluster will be finished. So this is what that means. Now we are going to talk about the cluster configuration. Node selection should reflect workload types, use general purpose for mixed tasks, memory optimized for join or caching heavy workloads, and compute optimized for parallel tasks like model training. I will go through more detail with the compute on Azure Databricks portal. Okay, so now talk about the auto scaling. So what auto scaling is, it is especially helpful for unpredictable workloads. So whenever it is required more workers, it adds workers when needed and scale down when load drops. Okay, hope you will understand by using this picture. Okay, now we are going to talk about the cluster pool, which improve efficiency. So if you are running a job every few minutes or spinning cluster frequently, pools cut down on wait time and improve throughput time. That means if you are running a job with 10 activities in parallel and your job is configured with interactive cluster, then every time each activity will start a cluster which will take some time to start and then you can consume within your job. But here in pool cluster, there will be a set of cluster as per your configuration will be waiting into the pool, and all the all the parallel processes utilize that pool. So here the cluster startup time will be reduced, and that's why it will be time efficient and cost efficient, right? Now we are going to talk about some strategies to optimize your cluster cost. So if you see into the screen here, these strategies combined can cut your compute bill in half or more. So use job cluster for production, spot for experimentation, and keep auto termination always on. I will let you know the Azure Databricks URL, how to cluster configuration has happened, right? So you can utilize that detail also, but by using this screen you can see this use job cluster which pay only for runtime, enable auto termination that avoid the idle time, right? So idle cost means if suppose your task is finishes but cluster is your on, right? The idle cost will be applied to your invoices. So if you wanted to wait cluster for 5 minutes only, then mention only 5 minutes. 30 minutes, then mention 30 minutes. Okay. Another one is choose spot instances during work configuration, use pool for short jobs, monitor with Kangelia and Spark UI, which detect underused resources. So these are some sort of strategies that you'll have to follow while whenever you are going to configure a cluster, right? Now, what we have learned so far, the recap, what we understood from the best practices that need to be followed, understand cluster type and their use cases, match the configuration of workloads, use auto scaling definitely, and spot instances wherever it is applicable, monitor, analyze, and optimize regularly where your cost is going up or down, stable, what kind of strategies. On the basis of that, you can make your strategies, right?
Okay, so I'm going to share you regarding the cluster, how to create the cluster. And if you see the screen here, all this showing the option what need to be selected, what all, right? So if you see here, there is a policy that need to be selected. So policy can be created as per your requirement. If you are working in any organization, you can create a policy, which kind of policy you want to create related to shared cluster or personal compute cluster or something. So regarding that, you can create a compute by using here the create policy, and you can see here, if you're creating a policy, then you can name it custom, the family you can select here, description, whatever the description you wanted to provide, right? So these kind of details you can provide during the creation of policy. Okay, so now once you created a policy and selected a policy, so I am going to create here the personal account here, right? So maybe I can use this unrestricted, so it will give me more details. So here you can identify that multi-node and single node, right? So if you select here single node, then it will behave something differently, and if you will use it multi node, that means it will behave differently. Here you can see the dbu per hour, it will provide you the detail about the how much cost it is going to be utilized. So it is, you can see here multiple selection is already been done, and on the basis of there it is utilizing this dbu. So if I select this single node, then it is showing me 2 dbu per hour. If I am going to select multi-node, then it is going to 6 to 18 dbu per hour. That also depend on the minimum worker, maximum worker, and all these kind of settings. So suppose access mode, what do we choose? You can see here that access mode definition you can identify from here what exactly is required access mode, right? So whether you are going to use a single user, means only you will be utilizing this cluster, or shared, that is a standard now. So whether your team member is going to utilize this, right? So these kind of things. And this is the single user, group, access, whatever you wanted to have, you can add there from single user, group, or access. Performance is basically you have to choose the runtime version. Basically the runtime version, you can see here the detail. If you wanted to more detail on this, you can go through here and you can click here, then you will find more detail on this. So here the multiple runtime available, and if you see here this few things that the upcoming or our latest one will be on top always, and here the old one. So whoever is getting reduced or getting ramped down from Databricks, it will be unlisted from here, and upcoming things will be listed over there on top, right? So LTS is something that long time support, that means. And always if you are working on any project or any production environment, so you should always utilize this LTS. In this case you will not have to change in future again and again, because these all are the version, temporarily version, or some sort of support will be provided from the database, but LTS is long time support, right? So I'm using a demo wise, that's why I'm going through all this, and no more matter what I'm selecting here, but that's fine. If you here you can utilize this use photon acceleration, that means it is photon acceleration that will enhance your Apache Spark workload, right? So this always you should use this one to optimize or enhance the working. Worker type you can identify from here what exactly you wanted to have this one. This is depends on the what memory or core you are going to utilize. On the basis of that you can utilize this one, whether you wanted to have a pool or you wanted to have a general purpose. So these kind of details I have already provided, what is the benefit of by using the pool one, and on the basis of pool you can utilize these things. Okay, and then general process purpose and general purpose HTTP. There are multiple things as per your costing or as per your requirement you can select this one. Okay, so suppose whatever you have selected here, suppose I have selected 16 GB memory and 4 cores. So minimum and maximum you will have to select here to scale up your compute. Whenever it is required to utilize more worker, then it will go from 2 to 8. So it will be between 2 to 8, right? So this is the minimum and maximum workers need is, right, scalable. And then you can select the driver type. So there is no matter what exactly you are using in worker type and driver type, but if you are going to use whatever the worker type you have used, the similar kind of driver type you should use. If you are not using the similar, then it is also fine, but ideally you should use the similar. Enabling auto scaling. First of all, I wanted to let you know that whatever the worker type, driver type, minimum worker, maximum worker you are selecting from here, that all will show here, right? If I show here, like I am going to utilize this 15 maximum worker, then you can see 6 to 32 dbu per hour. It was earlier lesser, right? So see, it was lesser, and now So that all depends on the calculation on what worker type, what driver type you are going to utilize. Another thing is auto scaling. Auto scaling, once you will enable this one, then it will auto scale whenever it is required more worker, then it will go for the more worker. It is if it is required less worker, or your uh, load is less, then it will reduce the worker. Okay, and this one is for the terminate after. Terminate after, that means you can utilize with the minutes, like suppose 5 minutes you are using or 30 minutes you are using. So in that particular 30 minutes it will be using to it will be live, so that you no need to restart, right? So better to identify what exactly how many minutes you wanted to cluster to be up and running, and if you feel that it is required more or less minutes, then totally depends on your work and work style. Okay, so lesser is always better, because if in nightly process there is no activity, then it will be stopped your cluster and cost will be saved. Okay, this tag is utilized for suppose you are working in any project in any organization, there are multiple project you are running onto cluster, so make sure you are creating a multiple cluster. So tag with that project name or project id you can mention here, and then you can mention this to identify which project compute is giving you high cost or low cost. So that it can be utilized for your reporting purpose, to manage the costing and all, to identify the cost and all on the project side. Okay, so if you see here, there is advanced option are available. So here what exactly you can do is what Spark you are going to utilize, what kind of environment variable you are going to set, those all kind of details you can mention here. Logging in script, these all kind of details you can mention here. All right, so once you are done with these settings, then you can create a compute, and once you will create a compute, it will create a compute, it will start a compute, and then you can utilize that compute. Okay, so all the settings, on the basis of settings whatever I have done here, you can see here the summarize. 2 to 8 workers I am utilizing this one by 8 to 32 cores. That means if you see here 4 cores I have used, to 2 into 4 is equal to 8, and 32 8 into 4 is equal to 32. This is the core size, maximum 32 core will be available, and similarly it is calculating with the size, memory size, right? Driver I have utilized this one, runtime I have selected this one, and then Unity catalog, of course it is already enabled the Unity catalog, that's why Unity catalog is showing here. Photon I have selected Photon here, that's why Photon is showing here. Standard DS D4DS V5, this is the driver type or worker type you can consider, and this is the total dbu per hour estimation it is showing, right? So this is all about the compute configuration, and that you'll have to create this way. All right,
Thanks for watching. If you found this valuable, don't forget to like and subscribe. This is what for today. Thank you. See you next time. Bye bye.